Many people have problems with art and not with reality.
So why is art different?
It's pretty simple, right?
This is knowledge, this is thinking, this is thought.
Yeah, it does something strange with your head.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair.
Bring it.
Welcome to the Undergang Armchair. My name is Ando. So, greetings, gang. I hope you guys are well. It's busy times here at Undergang headquarters, which, basically means everything is upside down at the moment. But we're fighting the good fight. We're fighting for a better future. There are big plans in the works, but now it's time to work our asses off in order to get there. And that's perhaps the best segue there could ever be into our today's guest, Peter Callesen. Now, for those of you who don't know Peter, you're in for a real treat. I think his work was some of the first I saw when I moved here to Copenhagen. I know it was some of the first that I fell in love with here in Copenhagen. He works in many media, but he's mostly known for working with paper. It's certainly what I saw first. I hesitate to call it paper cuts, but it's kind of undeniably the tradition that it rises from. But it's so much more. There's a delicacy, emotion, and weight to his works, which are made kind of all the much more incredible by the material he uses, which is namely plain A4 white paper. The thing that always wins me over is that combination of technique together with emotional and expressive tools of creation. If you can make an exquisite, beautiful, and precious, and then on top of that with a sound foundation, idea or emotion to carry it, it's rare that I won't be a big fan of it. And that's it. I'll let Peter take it from here. Remember that during the episode, we speak of several works of his. You can see pictures of those works on the show notes for this episode on our website. Please enjoy my talk with Peter Callesen. They have their programming, and if it doesn't fit into what their programming is, then too bad. You don't get to go to art school unless you want to go to, you want to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so I'm always happy to see people who come from outside that system, because as the school's a good school if it's what is for you.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody, and that makes it a closed system.
Yeah.
And because Denmark's so network based, so who knows who.
Yeah.
It's always nice, And so I was talking to Rosa, for example. She's educated abroad, and she said it took her 10 years to feel like she was part of it.
Yeah.
Was that the same for you?
No, not really, because, I also studied, I studied in Aarhus at the Jyske Kunstakademi before. And after that, then I moved to London and studied goldsmith. But I already had some connection to a gallery here in Copenhagen when I was studying. So, and then when I got back, I got out here. Somebody recommended me here. And so it was actually pretty easy, and I was still working with this gallery. So
that's lucky.
Yeah.
What gallery was that?
It's called Tommy Lund. He doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that was before my time.
Yeah.
Goldsmiths is a good school, right?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
It's very different, I imagine, going to art school abroad than it is here.
Yeah. It was, when I was studying in Aarhus, it was more like the teachers came over from Copenhagen.
Right, they were the train over.
Every second week, 2 or 3 days, and then it was very intense, and then they moved back, and then we just left to ourselves almost.
Just making work and partying, doing...
But then on the other hand, we had, it was a small school, so we were dependent on each other, and I quite liked it, but it wasn't... there was studying in London, I think, was different in terms of many things. First of all, I thought it was more like... In Denmark, I think it was very formal when we talked about art, and if we have this frame or this phrase where you say if it works or not, And of course, you also have to look formal on work, but we very seldom talked about the meaning of the work or the content of the work.
That shit drives me crazy.
Yeah. What?
That shit drives me crazy. I love, just that thought, that way of talking about art. I like theory. I'm interested in theory, but, as a foundation for everything, it seems kind of, it seems very 1970s-ish in some way.
That you only speak formally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about meanings or personal relationships or anything like that.
Where in London, it was very much about meaning and a lot about psychoanalysis and things like that. But
right.
Yeah,
it's very academic, right? When you start talking about theory and critical.
But I think it was a nice change for me, and I really enjoyed that. And also, obviously, there was a variety of, I think, 20 tutors you can pick from and have tutorials with when you wanted it, and then also there was a thing that for each term you have to present an artwork and in a big group. And
was that in London or in Denmark?
In London, yeah,
okay, yeah. Those group critiques are good, and just talking about it, just talking it through.
Yeah. A lot of talking, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, it means you have to be self-motivated to a degree, but as long as you have that, it's a great environment. I mean, was one better than the other, or was it important to do both?
Well, to be honest, I didn't consider the opportunity of going abroad when I started. But then I think I realized during while I was in Aarhus that I would like some change. And
okay, so you sought it out. You didn't think, I'll just go to Copenhagen.
Well, I did apply to Copenhagen in the beginning, also when I applied to Aarhus, but I didn't get in. They didn't accept me in Copenhagen, so I started in Aarhus, and then I thought I would like to go abroad instead.
Where did it start for you? Where did what happened before you applied for school?
What happened?
What was the door that opened that made you decide to go to art school?
Well, actually, I was studying architecture for 2 years before. But already when I started architecture, I guess I had this idea about that actually I would like one day to make art. But I don't think I didn't really.
Where'd that come from? Were your parents artists? Did you know
No, not at
artists?
all. Well, I've always been good at drawing, good at painting and things like that. And I've also been to some art højskoler.
Right.
During the academy, or during at the architectural school, I realized that
too many rules.
Yeah, and I was still painting at home, so I really couldn't. And at the same time, I think I realized I didn't want to be an architect. There was too many compromises, too much paperwork, and also this that you don't work with the actual thing. It's not a one-to-one experience. It's you just make a drawing of something which is going to be the real thing.
Right. Do you remember what it was that showed you it was possible to be an artist professionally? Because all kids draw, but it took me a long time to realize, oh my God, this is a job. You can actually do this.
Well, that's a good question, because as I said before, it's not in my family at all. I'm from a non-academic family. But then what happened after the 2 years of architect school? I took 1 year off and I studied at Aarhus Kunstskole, which is a daghøjskole.
So like a program, kind of an independent arts program.
Yeah, it's almost like what you call the preparation course you have. Foundation, like a foundation course almost. And I did that, and that did a lot to me, I think. So during that, I realized that I would like to apply for art school at least.
Yeah, I guess teachers are often good because they're usually working artists or struggling artists or someone who's like, all right, kids, look, this is the deal.
Yeah.
Because
but you asked at some point what really did it to me. I also think at some point I was working on a boarding school, and I was in my spare time I was painting, but that was before architecture school and everything. But at some point I was doing some, if I look back, quite terrible paintings, but
they usually are when we look back.
But basically, I have this feeling or this experience of that I was able to express my feelings through a painting, and what I painted was actually also what I felt, and that was
That was that one-to-one connection you talked about earlier.
Yeah, but it was also really a tool that I guess you can almost say that I could use it therapeutically. Yeah. I think that was also one of the experiences that kind of gave me the courage to continue. Were
your parents like, "What the hell? Get a real job"?
Yeah, but when I applied, because I'm from the middle of Jutland, from the countryside, and very rational way of thinking. So.
Right, it's not exactly a career path.
No, not really.
As
my mom said, why don't you just have it as a hobby?
Right,
yeah,
right.
But I guess that's a classical one. But I mean, at that time I was because I would think I was 27 when I started art school. So I mean, I was quite mature. So it was, and also those days it was still in those days when it was kind of that you should really choose whatever you feel like.
Right, and then just do that straight line.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's really important to start later. Like, you said you were 27. I think that's actually a really good time to start, because when I went to school, I was about a year or two older than everyone else. And even that made a difference. And I can't imagine how much more I would have been able to get out of it.
How old were you?
I started when I was 21, and they were like 19.
Yeah.
But if I was 27, I would have gotten, 100% more out of it, because, you're moving away from home, you're figuring out, girls, partying, living in an apartment, how to make food, all this stuff is happening at once. And it's hard to focus and work diligently on what you do then. And so, those years off, I think, are actually really important. And I'm sure you could probably feel a difference between the kids who came straight in the early 20s, and maybe, where you were at when you were in your 20, when you were 27, 28.
Yeah, but I think in Denmark in general, there's also compared to London, where I was studying together with someone who, as you said, they were about 20 years old, some of them. But then there were also a lot of international students who often were quite older. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's art school, I guess the point of it is just to try to get as much out of it as you can in that short amount of time. And however is best to do so. I mean, part of the problem is it's so expensive in the States. It costs a fortune. And, I would just, I could, like I said, I could have used it a lot better, but I used it better than most. And I was just watching some of these kids and being like, you're going to owe $500,000 when you're done with this. And you're going to be an artist. You're not going to be a lawyer. You're not going to be a doctor. Exactly. There's no way to get this money back unless you're really lucky. At least use the time properly.
Yeah.
But that's the problem with the education system over there too. But when you came back, you were able to hit the ground running, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, there was just 1 or 2 years where I was struggling, and I had some work on the side. But then, I started getting busy with works, and then I also connected with the gallery in London and with the gallery in Berlin, and yeah.
Do you think that was
quite? I think after 2 or 3 years, I was able to make a living of it after finishing school.
That's pretty fast, I would say. Do you think that was kind of a function of the time, or the function of your hard work, or a function of people you knew, or like what do you attribute that to?
I think it's a combination of all these 3 things you make. I was really hardworking. I was also quite good at networking, and as you said, that it was also a good time. There was a expanding market for art, and yeah.
Was this the early 2000s?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, as far as I understand, when everything changed. It went from being 3 galleries on downtown to 30 or something like that. And people started, those were the good years, I guess. Because when I moved here, it was right when everybody was in Valby. Yeah. And then, a year later, that imploded. And then, but I mean, I don't feel like there was that long of a downturn here. People consolidated, and a couple galleries closed, but not that many.
No.
and people seem to regain their footing pretty fast. That's maybe because the state has the support system in place.
Yeah, I think that's nivelates things, so you can kind of continue.
Right, so you don't get those huge shocks.
And also, I was quite lucky to get this 3 years working grant from Statens Kunstfond, and
that's a big one. Yeah, that's it's just a support system for 3 years in which you have your minimum wages paid, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's such a huge part of it is that system here. And congratulations, you just got a prize from the Museum Arken, right?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the travel grant.
Was that something you applied for, or was that
no? It was just given. Yeah,
surprise.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
That's always nice.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, Denmark's such a fantastic place to make art in. It may be small, and it may. Some people might argue it's a little conservative, et cetera, but the system creates so much space to work in. That's pretty incredible. Now you have to get into the system. When you're on the outside, there's nothing to do. But
that's probably true. Yeah.
But as long as you get in, kind of in that roundabout, they can really help even out the bumps and keep you afloat.
Yeah. But I've been very supported by the Danish Art Council.
Yeah. Does that reflect on you being good at writing grants and being hardworking? Because
I both had grants, but also had a lot of support for production of my work.
But you have to apply for that. You have to write those.
I have to write applications.
It doesn't.
I don't know if I'm good at it or
it just worked out.
It worked out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just because a lot of people, I didn't write my first grant application until I was in my 30s, I think, maybe 29 or something. And that's a skill set in and of itself. And you have to be on top of that. You have to treat it like a business thing. These are the deadlines. This is what I got to do. This is how I have to talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. And I was very slow in realizing that. And I think that's kind of an important part of being a working artist now. Because the money does not fall from the sky.
No. I don't know, maybe I'm sometimes I'm quite good at defining my project before I make it. Maybe that's an advantage. But I don't know if it's good for the art, but but unfortunately this is how the system works. And I think that's actually sometimes a problem with this with this application system that I think it especially applies to a certain kind of artist who maybe makes more conceptual work than others. For instance. As if being
able to write about it is important.
Yeah, as well, of course.
And it's kind of hard if you're just experimental and I'm going to figure it out as I go. That's not going to work. No, and that's what I mean about the art school too. There is a system which works better for some than others. But I bet, this is my theory, that you learned more about talking about your work at Goldsmiths than you did at the Art Academy in Denmark.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
because that's one of the things I got the most out of going to school. And I feel like that's I don't know if it's an Anglo thing or how would you define it, but American English schools, I think, are better at that whole talking.
Yeah.
What's your idea? Why?
Yeah.
What's this about? Why? That whole way of just chewing on things till they're almost dead. I don't feel like they do that as much here.
No. But I mean, but of course it is. But it is also a different system. I mean, here it's like an art academy, where it's more like the old Mesterlærer. I don't know how you translate that.
Right, that would be the almost the guild system where you have a master teaching a journeyman.
A master and a pupil. Whereas in England it's more like academic, as you said, and also you had critical theory and you have to write thesis and things like that. I think it is kind of changing now here, as far as I can understand.
Yeah,
they're trying to make it more.
Well, that's good, I think. And of course, if you have a small institution, it's going to have a small amount of people running it, which are going to have a kind of singular vision. When you have a school, the school I went to had over 1,000 students. So it was a lot more of a mess. Well, some people want to do this and some people want to do that, and they had to apply to more areas. But one of the things I found really interesting, in fact, the reason that that I contacted you is because when I came here, I saw a lot of your paper cut works.
Okay.
And they're, of course, delicate.
Whereabout did you see them?
Oh, man.
In Valby at Helena Nyborg?
Yeah, I think Helena Nyborg. And then you had a show at the church at Nikolai Kunsthal, which was 2009 or something like that, where you built this huge castle out of cardboard. And all, and I just kept seeing, I also work at a frame shop, so I framed a few of them that people had bought. And it stood out. The work completely stood out to me. I hadn't seen anything like it. And I love the kind of relationship to what might be considered a craft art, decorative arts in terms of paper cuts and hobbies. You think of Victorian ladies doing paper cuts and stuff, but done on such an advanced and expressive level. But then I looked into it, and you've done performance art, you've done photography, you've done all sorts of not paper cut-y works, which are, some of them are messy, some of them are big, some of them are loud, and then on this other side you do this very delicate. And so, it seems to me like you've just been refining it and going down and down and down and down and down and down till you get to this very singular yet full of options way of making things.
Yeah.
Do you do any performance anymore?
On occasions I do, but it's only on special occasions, and if it really fits into the exhibition that I'm doing. And
what's a special occasion?
Well, for instance, I was participating in a group show in an old it's called Geist Glorup in an old gods at Funen in Funen.
Is that like an old farm?
Yeah, but one of these really huge houses, farms. Where
like a feudal landowner almost. Huge house. Yeah.
And it was a place where Hans Christian Andersen used to live or sometimes come and visit. And then I've been doing this performance where I folded this big paper boat. I've done that on different occasions.
And then sailed it out?
Yeah, and I thought it would be interesting in this connection to Hans Christian Andersen because he has this fairy tale with the paper boat as well, and because he used to live there. And then I made a performance where I started climbing out a window from a rope, because it says that he always was carrying this rope around with him because he was paranoid that everything would burn. So he just had this rope in case he had to take himself down from the window. Well, things like that.
Yeah. So when you see a direct connection, to something,
because I nowadays I prefer more working with the material to have this material in my hands, and I still really enjoy this. This transformation of paper.
And such a plain material too.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas a performance is something you can't really redo. Well, you can redo it, but then it's another thing. So this thing about having a material that you can work on, go home, and then come back to it and look on it with new eyes, and
Why do you think you've gotten away? Do you think the period in which you made the most performance was more about experimentation and trying things out, expressing ideas?
Yeah, that's one side perhaps, but I also think actually on a personal level it was more about exposure that maybe I needed or felt that I had a bigger urge to express myself, where nowadays I don't really.
To be seen?
Yeah, I don't feel the need, maybe. I've been thinking about that. Perhaps that's the reason too.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, because as a vehicle for ideas, it's difficult performances. It's difficult. There isn't so many ways to document it, which really work. A video or a photograph is rarely a good replacement.
Yeah.
People are often puzzled. It has the aura of being a little pretentious. There's all sorts of issues with it, but when it's done well, it's transcendent. It's amazing. And what I noticed about yours was they were often funny. Yeah. Which I really think is a great point of entry. you building a huge cardboard boat and then sailing it out into a little lake, and of course it sinks, is kind of darkly hilarious. At least to me. I don't know if other people see it that way or if you see it that way.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's this aspect of something comic and tragic in almost all my performances.
And your work, also.
In my work too, yeah. I think that's...
Has that kind of been a through line in your work? This idea of comedy and tragedy?
Well, it hasn't been anything that I've deliberately decided that I wanted to be like that. It just happened to be like that, I think. Yeah.
Do you see that in your, 22-year-old Peter's paintings? Was there an attraction to that?
That's a good question. No, I don't think so, actually. They were more seriously. Or they didn't actually have so much comic in it.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny, you do have to go through this period of taking yourself really seriously.
Yeah.
Or at least I did too.
Yeah.
And just make terrible, terrible artwork. That's just the way that is. You just have to really get through it. But, it seems like you don't ever concern yourself with whether, or you used to at least not concern yourself with the materials. You could make performance, you could make photographs, you could make video, you could make sculptures, etc.
And I would like to think of myself still like that. But of course, you're right. I've been more or less defined as this paper guy or Peter.
It's how I got to know you.
Yeah.
But I also came late to the show.
Yeah.
But what is it about the paper that continually holds you?
I think there's a lot of things about paper which I like. First of all, it's such a plain material, as you said, and then it's such an everyday material, and it's cheap. It's not pretentious, and at the same time, it still has a lot of references. The blank white page to, like, a lot of literally references to untold stories and things like that, and to purity and the way I work is often that I cut out a silhouette, and from the silhouette I create a 3D figure. And often there's a relationship between this silhouette and the 3D figure, or a story, or a contrast. Or at least there's a... Yeah, I often tell stories with my work. But it's very much this transformation that triggers me, and it still triggers me, how it is possible to change this flat surface of paper into something else.
Well, it strikes me that it's also a little performative, because part of the fascination with your works is how detailed, intricate. I'm sure the question comes up a lot. Jesus Christ, how long did that take? Yeah. Because it's so ornate and it's so precisely done that it becomes, I guess, it references the performance of making it too.
Yeah.
Even though it's very finished.
Yeah.
When it's
I understand what you're saying. You could also say there's almost this before and then after. There's something cut out, but you don't see how it's made into this. So I guess you can argue there's also an aspect of magic, or maybe magic is too strong word, but something I don't let the audience see whatever, or see everything which happens.
Yeah. No, it is. I think magic is the correct word. It's certainly mystic in a way. Do you see them as sculptures?
I guess I see them in between, because especially the frameworks I make, I sometimes call them objects, wall objects, because they are or reliefs, because they're kind of in between. They're dealing with the surface in contrast to the sculpture. You could say the relationship between picture and, well, you can maybe even say picture and reality. But that's too far to take it. But sometimes I call my work I call them the opposite of Magritte's famous pipe.
Right.
because he was kind of pointing at the illusion within the
Right, the two-dimensional plane representing 3D. Yeah.
Where I kind of go the other way, and because there's literally things coming out from the flat surface of the paper or from the image, which the relief or the silhouette is.
Right. Well, that's right. You have this often significant amount of the paper is flat and presented as a two-dimensional object, but then part of it is tearing or jumping or coming out of the two-dimensional space.
So and often it's actually something coming to life in a way from in this. It's kind of falling out from the actual silhouette or the picture, and in this fall it becomes alive, but it also becomes fragile and vulnerable and mortal in a way.
Right. Yeah, they must be extremely fragile. Where did it start? Like, when did you make the first one, and what brought that on?
Well, that's actually an interesting one. I was talking about I was doing these performances, and at some point I was doing a performance in Helsinki. I was participating in a performance festival where I made this floating castle made from styrofoam floating on the water, and it was interactive. I were rowing people out there in a boat and then leaving them there for half an hour, and then they could stay in this fantasy castle for half an hour, and then I would pick them up afterwards. But for this performance, they made a catalog, and everyone was asked to contribute with something, and I came up with this A4 sheet of paper of a castle which you could cut out and glue together yourself.
Like the kids' toys almost that we used to get,
but because I, in my performances or thematically, have been working a lot with dealing with the impossible or struggling against the impossible and maybe also failure, at least in many of my performances, then I made this very delicate and so small and detailed that it actually was impossible to make. And then it got into the catalog, and then half a year after, one day I sat down, and then I thought, I wanted to try to see how far I actually could get with this drawing that I made. And then I started to cut and glue, and it actually showed out that it almost was possible to make this. It was just a tiny little castle made from one sheet of A4 paper. And that was actually the start of these A4 paper works.
And so you just saw a door open at that point?
Yeah, it actually opened something for me, because then I was invited to a show with this gallery in London, and then I made some more and started to develop this idea of that it was all created from one sheet of paper, because that's the rule or the dogma that I put up for myself, that it's all created from one sheet of paper. Sometimes I remove something, but I never add anything. Okay.
So one regular sheet of A4 printer paper, that's the rule.
Yeah. Well, I use this special paper which is archival and acid free, but it's literally, or it's almost the same as a sheet of or copy paper. Yeah.
Is it frustrating? I mean, I imagine that you're making something. You've got the whole figure built. You've got the skeleton or the angel or whatever you're building, and then you put too much glue on it and it's done.
No, not really. Well, sometimes, of course, it takes a lot of preparation to make one piece, because you have to make a lot of sketches before you reach the final one. And but I think I'm quite patient. So
it fits your nature.
I think it does. There's a big satisfaction in doing it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, having said that, I also at the moment I have this idea that I would like to work. I would actually like to make works which still with paper, but works which are a little bit more expressive, a little bit more perhaps as we talked about, which are not defined before I make it. So there's something. So the process is more open actually, and leaves and more intuitive.
Open for you or open for the viewer, or both?
Maybe both. Yeah, yeah. But I don't know if I will succeed doing that. I've made a few huge installation. For instance, the one in the church with a big window. That was a kind of start.
Castle, a cardboard castle.
Yeah, but the castle, that was kind of more like just a frame for making for showing all the videos. Whereas the big window, I think that was the ideas was that I wanted to work with or make more like a collage of old sketches, which was a part of the work.
What do you about documentation of the three-dimensional works? I mean, because I remember, for example, at that show there was a smaller but still quite large white castle made in white paper. Do I remember correctly? It was about 1 meter by 1 meter or something.
No, that was not a castle. That was a ruin, I think.
Okay, it could have been a ruin. I don't remember exactly, but it was quite big.
Yeah.
Impossible to frame.
Yeah.
Impossible to transport, I imagine.
That is actually possible if you just make transport box which it fits into. So it's totally fixed, and then it's actually possible. Yeah.
Did those works just survive after that show?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did actually keep them.
Yeah.
Because they're so big.
Well, the big window at the end. You remember that? It was like a copy of the big. There was this huge window in the
church.
End
of the church.
Yeah. Which I kind of removed. Well,
okay.
I can show you.
Yeah, I don't actually remember that. I remember the castle, and I remember some of the smaller yet big works.
Yeah, this work.
So what's that made out of? Just white paper?
Yeah. The structure is made from, I think it was 200 grammage paper. And within it, there was a structure of cardboard. And as you can see, this is a copy of the back window in the church. You know, the window where normally the divine lights shine through. And then I made this as a copy, but as a ruin, and slightly moved it into the actual exhibition space. And then I changed the size of the windows so they are A4 size. And then in the windows I put a lot of old sketches, drawing copies, which I kept through the years. So it was more like, I'm not quite sure actually what it was about, but
it was more intuitive.
Yeah, I think it was. And what was interesting that it also, it became like also like in a way kind of interactive or not indirect portrait in a way, because it was
site specific for the exhibition
as well, but it was also referring to a lot of my older works and other works which were in the exhibition, and some of my old drawings and sketches and thoughts, which suddenly became the window, which you both can look through, but sometimes you couldn't look through because I was also blocking the window because this was white paper. So there was a lot of layers in this. But this is a little bit the same I've been working with in my installation at Gammelstrand, which you have seen it, or what?
I haven't yet. The one in the Montana room?
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, I haven't. So is it it's more in this direction again? Right window frames?
Yeah. It's what I've done is that I've literally copied, you see, these are the old windows, which almost is like a Hammershøi painting. The light shines through, and these old panels, white panels. So I've copied this and made that in paper on all this wall. Oh,
right. There's no window there.
No.
In reality.
So this is artificial light shining behind the windows.
That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work, yeah.
We'll put pictures of this on the podcast page so people can see it.
Yeah.
That's incredible, actually, because I had totally forgotten that's a blank wall. There's no window there.
And then in the actual window glasses, as windows, I put pieces of paper which are with text, as you can see there. Some of the text is cut out, so the light can slightly shine through. And it's a lot of it's a collage of a different texts. Some are personal texts, some are ideas, some are reference from philosophy and things like that. But the idea is to work with text and thoughts and ideas, and to make them concrete or remove them from their meaning and make them change them into, I guess, a more poetic expression in a way. Also because this is a meeting room where people, literally talk and are supposed to have ideas and use words to communicate.
So you've talked about both personal expression and kind of storytelling in your work. Would you say your work always includes personal expression, or only sometimes?
Not always. No.
Sometimes it's just a story.
Yeah.
And are these stories you think up and plan ahead, or are they being written while you make the work?
Well, when I say stories, I mainly think about these small A4 pieces. For instance, if I cut out a flower and then I transform the beautiful flower into a scary spider. So that's what I mean by story. That this is, I work symbolically. I work with recognizable objects.
Right. And it's often very contrast. I don't want to say it's graphic, but it uses the elements of graphic, black and white, cutouts, negative space, positive space.
Definitely using graphic elements as well. Yeah.
So I noticed, I saw you a lot of places there when I first moved to Denmark, back, 8-9 years ago. And then there was the little mini collapse. Helena Nyborg, your gallerist, moved to Jutland. And
she actually, she moved to Strandgade for a period, and then she closed down that, and then she moved to Jutland.
Right.
But not with her gallery, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
She works now for an institution there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And she ran a great gallery, and nothing else like it opened up again, as far as I'm concerned. It was my wife's favorite gallery in town. But I noticed you don't have a gallery you work with anymore.
That's true, yeah.
Which, according to the traditional art world, is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But according to several people I've spoken with, Julia Nord, for example, she also went many years without one, et cetera, et cetera. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
They loved it.
Yeah.
What's your position on it right now?
Well, to be honest, I can't really figure out what's good or bad. Well, I've been quite lucky because for a long period I've also had galleries abroad, which I also don't have at the moment. I might have some connection in New York, which might lead to something, but I don't know yet. But that's definitely something I need to work on more.
So you do feel like it's better, or you would like to have that again now?
Yeah, at least abroad, because of course, I can't do I can't do anything from here in New York. Well, of course, I can do a little bit, but then it's much better to be represented by gallery. Whereas in Denmark, I'm pretty well connected, so it's much easier to work on my own here, and also have customers coming to me. But of course, it is a lot of work, and
it's a lot of business management, right?
Yeah. So my consideration is if it's worth it. So I might look for a gallery at some point.
Some sort of relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the modern problems with being an artist, is that you spend a lot of time doing stuff, getting stuff out of the way so you can make more work. You know, if you have 50% of your free time to make work, that's a lot in a lot of ways, because there's so much, and you can get help. Help is good. Yeah. Assistants are good, etc. But it's a lot of work. Like you say, if customers are coming to you, well, then you have to be the representative of your work, whereas a gallery would otherwise do that.
Yeah.
And you have to enjoy talking to people, and you have to enjoy networking. But you've been busy. You haven't seemed to have any problem showing work.
No. At the moment, I'm almost too busy. I have quite a few shows coming up, and also working on 2 commissions. One for the university here in Amager, in their new big hall at QA2, a building which they've just built.
Is that a permanent commission?
Yeah.
Out of paper?
No, it's not going to be paper. It's going to be it's a material which imitate paper.
Okay.
But it is actually plastic. But it's kind of semi-transparent, so you can see the light shining through.
Okay.
It's like a kind of spiral tower, which is going to be like 10 meters tall, but just made from one stripe of, well, not paper, but similar material.
But it looks like paper.
Yeah.
From here, at least.
And which you can't see there, but there will be cut a lot of letters and words and references into the actual material. Huh. And these letters will afterwards be glued on the surrounding walls and painted over in the same color as the walls. So it'll be kind of hopefully slightly, very silent shadows, all depending on how the light comes.
Do you find it interesting to work when you have to think about permanence on that level, like public space, and it's obviously supposed to last?
I think that's an interesting challenge. Yeah. Well, actually, this is actually one of my first commissions, and it's been ongoing for about five years now, and I still haven't done it because there's been a lot of problem with logistics and fire departments, and then I've been busy, and it's been so it is quite time consuming.
It's a different kind of project.
Yeah, it is.
Now, you said you've got lots to do. Is that, I mean, part of the thing is I think people who listen to the show are younger artists, people who are interested in how it actually works. Are you out there trying to network, talk, propose, whatever you do to get these exhibitions, or are they coming to you?
They're mainly coming to me, but I should also do more networking. I should also go to more openings and
I don't know, you got enough to do, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing, and I just got myself a family, and my girlfriend is expecting here in June. So
first one?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying, right?
Not really. No, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah. And just, I think about artists and like, oh my God, time is limited already. And
this aspect, of course, but my girlfriend is also an artist, so she's quite on. I think she understands.
So you guys can fight about who gets the day off too.
Yeah, I think we'll work it out.
That's good. That's exciting.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's. Where's the struggle? It seems like it's worked out so well for you. You've worked your way into the situation, and where's the hard part for you? Because there's always a hard part.
Yeah, well, the hard part, of course, is that it takes a lot of work, and sometimes I'm also working too much. And I guess also, I mean, and I also think there's been ups and downs in my career, and for instance, last year or 2 years ago, I was a bit nervous because I didn't have anything in my schedule, but then suddenly a lot of things came up again, and so at the moment I'm also preparing hopefully a big exhibition in China coming up in 2017.
Exciting.
Both in a museum and at the new Danish Culture Center out there. Where they've just opened a new space, huge space in this famous gallery area in Beijing.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that is very exciting. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think for people who are interested in being artists, there's two ways. There's one way which is make solid good work and then network the hell out of everything, and then there's the other way where you make work that's so unique and so undeniable that people come to you, and that's a tough one. That's not something you just decide to do. You have to work. You have to work really hard.
Yeah. Well, I think also, as I said in the beginning, I think I have been quite good at networking, especially in the beginning. I've been very focused and
on purpose.
Yeah.
Did it come naturally to you, or was it something you had to teach yourself?
I think it came quite naturally. Yeah.
You don't have too much of the Yentalo?
No, not
Danish
really.
hobble?
No, not really. I have to tell you, I grew up in Herning, in the middle of Jutland.
Yeah.
You know where that is?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of bad things about saying about Herning, but
There's an art fair there now.
yeah. and the good things that I have brought with me, I think, from Herning is that the people also sometimes calls it the Wild West of Denmark, because it doesn't take so much talking to do things. People just do it. So if you have an idea, you actually do it, and I think that's something I have brought with me, that I believed in, that things were possible, and if you wanted to do something, you just had to do it. I know it sounds pathetic and very simple to say, but I think that's sometimes what I have experienced with some of my colleagues, that also people who perhaps came from more academic backgrounds, that they really needed to think things very well through before they did it, and maybe sometimes that was stopping them from doing things.
Well, I mean, the evidence from doing this program supports what you're saying, because almost every single person I talk to on this show who is having some success, who's making good work, even if it's personal success, whatever it is, works their ass off. There's literally not one of no one I've talked to has been like, well, I mostly sit around and think, and then every once in a while I make something. Everybody's getting up early, they're working late and as hard as they can. And not only is that how you get stuff done, but that's how you work through things. You have to fail a lot before you can make something work. So I think it's absolutely true what you're saying. And it's something I learned way too late. Not too late, but I wish I'd had that with me earlier. And that, self-doubt is also a problem when you have self-doubt about, and then you just maybe don't get it done. So,
I think doubt is okay.
It can't be paralyzing on that sense. You can't have that self-doubt getting in the way. Well, I think we about did it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Really nice talking to you.
All right, that's it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Undergang Armchair. The intro and outro music was kindly provided by Johnny Ripper, and today's interstitial music was provided by David Hyde. You can find links to their music and tons of other great conversations with great people on our bone folder of a website, undergang.net. This show is produced in part with the kind support of the Danish Arts Council. Thank you for joining us.